some hope to die.
By these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, I know they're lying. They tricked me once, but they're not going to trick me twice. The time is now. Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn, your host. Glad to be with you as always for episode number 267. It's a Happy New Year episode coming to you on this Tuesday night, December 30th, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I was talking to Tanner before we started recording this morning. I said, man, it's New Year's week. I'm not even sure where to start with all this. What kind of New Year's is this? And what came out of you? Good morning. What came out of your mouth?
Good morning. Have you seen the Nick Shirley piece? Are we talking about that today?
We are going to have to talk about it. Yes, we are.
Sweet.
There's been hundreds of millions of views of his journalism.
Yeah, I think I just saw a report that it became the most streamed video or long format video on X. Has like 161 million views.
Ever?
Yeah, like for X's, I don't know about Twitter's side of things, but for X, and since they've introduced like 30-minute videos up to an hour, apparently Nick Shirley's has become the number one most viewed.
He lives here.
No way.
I think he lives in Minneapolis.
It's hilarious because I've been following Nick for like a year and a half
He
on
might
Instagram.
not live it. He's in Minneapolis. I know he's here right now.
Yeah.
He may not live here, but I know he's living here right now doing this investigation. And, well, let me ask you, what did you think of his work?
That was amazing. And then at the same time, I was saying, I could be doing that.
Free People Radio is doing that. But what Nick Shirley did is he went out and dramatized the research. I mean, we've been talking about fraud and abuse of the sovereign citizen for 266 previous episodes.
Yeah.
That's been a theme. And the theme really, if it really gets down to the bottom, is you can only be abused when you want to be abused. You're asking about what kind of music we could run. You should play Bill Withers' Use Me to go out with if you want to. Because, you know, when the using is so good, people want to get used and people have traded. This has been a theme at Free People Radio. People are trading away their freedom for convenience and security.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for 100 years. I think you used a very great word, domesticated. Remember that?
Yeah. To describe just the average American.
Domesticated.
Yeah. We've
Right?
been domesticated. I kind of see America as a big cattle farm.
Well, we are being farmed. We're being monetized from birth till death.
Yep.
And, you know, Nick has shown, he brought the receipts. What did you think of his work? I mean, just technically and.
I thought his work was good in the sense of like, you know, it's been a common thing we've been talking about on the podcast that we want authenticity. And when someone like me watching that, it literally was just somebody that I possibly went to school with. Like that's what it felt like. And I was just watching their Snapchat memories or some video they took on their phone for themselves. I thought it was really good. I think the biggest piece that I like that I don't even think was his work per se was it was so easy to find it. Like, yeah, we've been talking about it. We've been seeing the laws and like certain actors that are setting it up, but totally different when he just shows up to Minneapolis and is like, finds a sign that says Leering Center and the people won't let him even see the daycare when he's there wanting to check in his child, Joey. Mind blowing, seeing how easy it actually was for him to just find it. It's right there.
And you've been watching him for several years.
I would say his Instagram. I wouldn't say I was watching him, but I've been following him on Instagram.
What other stories has he been working on? Anything
Not
come
really
to mind?
stories. Like I remember him, I don't remember how long ago it was, but he used to just kind of be a prankster. He never really even used to be political.
Aha.
So it's just some random guy that decided to just show up to Minneapolis and do it.
Well, I don't know if he lives here or if he's staying here right now, but he's still working on this story. But you know, what really fired you up was the receipts, right? That he actually went to.
It was seeing how in your face it was.
How many
asked
times have you heard me say on this show that if you look at the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve, a private bank that finances the deficits of we the people, which are voted for by the elected representatives who sell us into debt slavery, now at $38 trillion. There's $10 trillion of that debt on the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. You know how it got there?
How?
They created the money because the Federal Reserve is the only organization in the world that is lawfully and legally empowered to create money for the United States.
Yeah.
And during the COVID period, there was a kind of a breakdown of the system, like the sky was falling and the government needed money and it couldn't raise it through its traditional, we're going to sell bonds. So how does the bond thing work? You've heard of treasury bonds, right?
A little bit. I don't fully understand how
Well,
they
it's
work.
very simple. A bond could be a corporate bond. It could be a sovereign bond. Two kinds of bonds, corporate bonds, sovereign bonds. A corporation needs money for investment.
Mhm.
So a government needs money for operations. Comes to investors and says, here's a piece of paper. Give me cash. I'll give you this bond, this paper. It's just a piece of paper. And it says, I'm going to pay you back the money that you've given me in a certain period of time with a certain fixed interest rate.
Mm.
So when the government can't bring in enough tax revenue to fund its operations, we're $38 trillion in the hole. It's a pretty big problem, right?
Yeah.
It generally sells bonds. There's a treasury auction every few weeks.
Is it kind of like a stock thing? If someone gets 51% of the bonds, they own the United States?
No, it's not.
It doesn't work that way?
No, because the ownership of the United States is who's holding the debt. That's the Federal Reserve owns and controls all of our process. Because if that didn't exist, we'd have to completely come up with a new way of dealing with everything. That would be called equity-based finance. We have debt-based finance. The way the government creates money is when there's debt issued, money is created.
Hmm.
It's completely backwards. It creates everybody as a slave.
Mhm. So
Money has to be created. How is money created? Well, generally speaking, somebody comes up with a really good idea and people want it. And whatever they put in to start that idea, when people buy it, they get a profit. That's the creation of money.
Yeah.
Profit.
So then where does this connect for the Nick Shirley piece?
Very simply. And this is my happiness about Nick Shirley and all these hundreds of millions of views and the people like you see. Of course, you knew everything was corrupt anyhow.
Yeah.
Your generation knows you're doomers after all.
Yeah.
So you guys just get off on that. You go, oh my God, here's the evidence. Look at this. But what are we really looking at? I've got a guy that's tracking me. I met him in Minnesota Speaks, which, by the way, Thursday night, let's come back to the Federal Reserve. Thursday night, January 1st, 7 p.m., we're having a Minnesota Speaks get-together. The last one had 12,000 people. Let's try to get 20,000 people. Bring your friends. Let's get together as a Minnesota community. We have so much to discuss. And Royce White will be presenting on this Thursday, New Year's first night. I'm going to talk about caucus and caucus training. Bring as many people as you can. This is the best shot we've got to change this. How are we going to change it? Regular, everyday people of goodwill getting involved in politics, something that's not going on now. Because if people of goodwill were in politics, there's no way you could rob all this money.
Yeah, this stuff wouldn't be happening.
It couldn't happen because somebody would say, what's this?
That isn't right.
That's not right.
You're doing what?
Right.
That makes no sense. There's no children there. Don't send money there.
Well, that would mean that the whole system is corrupt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is. So, and then please, January 7th, the following Wednesday, the companion piece to Minnesota Speaks, which is our monthly community peer-to-peer meeting at Wayzata Central Middle School. We've got to have a place, the serious players. Now, there's a lot of people, 12,000 people come. Hey, if there was 1,200 people, 10% of those 12,000 people that really wanted to get involved and they wanted to join the Minnesota Republican Party and become delegates and choose who the party endorses as their standard bearer in the upcoming midterm elections, if you're one of those people, come to the peer-to-peer meeting at Wayzata Central Middle School on January 7th at 7 p.m. We're not going to change this unless we get involved. Now we've got this evidence. It's like, do you see or do you feel any great wave of citizen enthusiasm among your generation? They go, man, look at the boomers robbing us. We got to get into politics. Is that going on?
Yeah, for one individual, actually. I had a close person to me. He reached out to me and asked, like, did I watch that piece? And normally he's pretty left-leaning on his views. A lot more just not involved. Like, he was kind of one of the people my age that are like, politics sucks. All the politicians, they suck ass. I'm just going to step back from it and not even participate. Now we were having a conversation about local politics and building a community and how to get together, because once you see it like this, puts a little fire under your ass to get running to fix it.
We're arguing about the money, how big it is. You know, if it was 100 million, it's completely unacceptable. It's like the conversation about genocide. 6 million Jews died. No, that number's way overstated. It was only 2 million.
Yeah, so what?
So what? It's 2 million people were systematically killed. What's wrong with you? We're arguing over a number. If it was $10 and it was theft of the people's money, stealing my energy, it needs to be prosecuted. The people involved need to be investigated. They need to go to jail. There can't, we're Republicans. Republicanism is a philosophy. I don't mean the Republican Party of Minnesota. I mean the philosophy that undergirds this country's ideas. It's an anti-corruption philosophy. Anti-corruption. It's against corruption. Corruption of the human soul is what the philosophers were thinking about, but the corruption of the human soul leads to all kinds of deadly sins. So what do? We heal our own deadly sins. You got some deadly sins there, young man?
Oh, yeah.
Heal them.
Trying every day.
Well, we have to resist. It says, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. You have to want to resist. It's kind of like you have to want to participate.
Yeah.
You have to make a choice. But I'm still making the choice. Every human's making this choice. But we are seeing that our choices right now have a higher level of criticality because, as they say, the ass has fallen off the donkey, which means we get serious or we lose the republic. Because these people are stealing billions of dollars. Now, back to the Federal Reserve, we're talking about how money gets created. Try to be a little bit more articulate about it. When the government can't, sometimes the government has an auction it's called an auction. They auction off the bonds. They show up, they got 5-year bonds, 10-year bonds, 30-year bonds, short-term bonds. They got all these bonds and they sell them. They sell them off and they collect the cash and they give people a piece of paper and they say, trust me, this is the full faith and credit of the United States government. We the people, we always pay. That's not true. We've defaulted before. People just don't like to talk about it. Anyhow, the people at the government or they have brokers that do this for them, give the buyer of the bond a piece of paper, and the buyer gives the broker who gives the money to the government actual cash. And then we, the people, have committed to pay that buyer back his full principal plus interest over a specified period of time. And every government is doing this. I think the worldwide sovereign debt is like $300 trillion.
Whoa. Wow. That's a lot.
Well, and the worldwide economy is like $100 trillion. So we're leveraged out 3-to-1. And in the history of the world, there's never been a debt paid back when it goes beyond 1-to-1. I mean, it just doesn't get paid back.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of ways that they mask that. Inflation is one of them. That's another strategy to make this appear different than what it really is. Inflation is kind of a slow-moving default on a corporate bond or a sovereign bond. Anyhow, what happened during COVID and what happens from time to time is they show up to sell the bonds and there's no buyers. And everybody says, whoa, I don't think so. I don't want to buy today. And the government's sitting there. They still need the cash. So you know what they did?
What's the highest bid?
No, nobody, no buyers.
Not even in the auction.
The sky is falling.
Wow.
COVID. We're all going to die.
Okay.
Okay? So what they did was they went to the Federal Reserve. And they said to the Federal Reserve, we'd like to sell you these bonds. Would you please buy them? The Federal Reserve said, fine. And they created the money to buy the debt. So you got a piece of paper that was bought with counterfeit money. And we're running around talking about a few $1 billion of fraud. And I got this guy riding me from Minnesota Speaks because I defended the idea of citizenship. Okay, this is very critical, Bama. It's not that I'm pro-Somali or anti-Somali. I'm pro-U.S. citizen, Bama. You're a U.S. citizen, aren't you? I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't want the concept of citizenship devalued in a rush to penalize people. I want them to have due process of law. We have rule of law still. Doesn't work very well. It's not going to work better when we just ignore it. The idea here is to refresh the institutions of the republic that made the country great. That's why it's called, guess what it's called? Conservatism.
Yeah.
We want to conserve the ideas and the institutions that made the country great. When we have a rush to go to jail, hey, let's just hang them high. Throw a rope over a tree branch and let's just start hanging these people. There are people that think that way.
Yeah.
And if you think that way, that's not Republican. That is not Republicanism. That's something else. So this Bama's riding me as if I'm pro-Somali. No, I'm pro-U.S. citizenship. But Bama, if you happen to be listening, let me clarify this for you. There is a process to denaturalize a citizen. If a citizen lied to obtain said U.S. citizenship, if they lied on their immigration forms, if they lied about their status, if they married a family member, whatever they did that was fraudulent, that person would be subject to denaturalization, imprisonment, and then deportation. It doesn't matter where they're from. They could be from Somalia. They could be from China. I wonder how many tens of thousands of Chinese are in this country with citizenship that was obtained fraudulently. Maybe there's 1,000. Whatever the number is, every last one needs to be tracked down, prosecuted, imprisoned, and then deported. Otherwise, citizenship doesn't have any meaning. Are there possibly Israelis in the country like that? I bet there are, because nobody has really been minding the store. Obviously, billions of dollars are going out the back door. Do you think this just happened yesterday? Yeah. This has been going on for decades. Decades.
Well, now footage is showing up. Granted, I don't know if it's actually real, but I've been seeing footage of like security camera, and they were seeing this back in like 2015 of a daycare center and just fraud in the level that we're seeing it. So even just that little pinpoint of fraud, it's been going on for 10 years.
It's been going on since 1913.
And wait, weren't you telling me the other day that the Pentagon failed their audit?
We're going to talk about that tonight too if we get to it. Yes, the 8th audit in a row.
8th. Wow.
8th. There's trillions of, see, what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to minimize the importance of this crack in the wall, because whatever we can get to that awakens the sleeping giant. There was a Japanese admiral. His name was Yamamoto, and he was the admiral that led the attack on Pearl Harbor. And he was a good Japanese soldier, an admiral, not just a Grandoon. This guy was at the top of the food chain. And he told everybody, let's not be attacking the United States. He'd actually spent a lot of time in this country. And he led a very successful attack. We all know the story of Pearl Harbor. But afterwards, he wrote a one-liner. I fear all we have done is awaken the sleeping giant. And that's what we have here in this country. We, the people, are a sleeping giant. Why are we asleep? Well, hey, they're getting good at putting us to sleep. Reels, man. That's all-time high right there. And then everybody feels pretty safe, even though we talk a lot about crime. Most people feel pretty safe. And, well, hey, convenience. Convenience. I argue with people all the time in my own house. No, we're not going to do auto pays. We're going to write checks. I'm going to carry cash. I'm going to start paying all my bills in cash. Deal with it. But it's so convenient just to point and click.
Yeah.
Point
Even
and
more
click.
convenient now that it's on a phone. I can just
Right.
touch it.
So we don't really understand the implications of what we're doing. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight in reference to Real ID. But my point is, if this wakes people up, great. We're dealing with the small end of the action. Just the money that gets siphoned off to pay for whatever it's paying for. We don't know yet. It has to be investigated. I see a lot of allegations that are masquerading as the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to be careful about that too. I mean, anybody can say anything. I can say that all these NGOs, and there's over 30,000 of them, non-governmental organizations, nonprofits. There's over 30,000 of them in Minnesota.
Just in Minnesota
Just
alone.
in Minnesota alone.
Wow.
So there's only been about 4 programs that have been looked at. There's 10 more programs that are subject to massive fraud. They think this fraud could be intergalactic compared to what they found. But it has to be investigated. Otherwise, Bam, if you just want to start hanging people, go out there. You be the first guy to start leading the lynching parties again. Let's see how that goes for you. So since you're not going to do that, I know you're not, because that would take a certain mindset that you didn't have. If we're going to use rule of law, we have to have investigations. Maybe what Nick Shirley's great contribution will be is he's going to force the FBI and local law enforcement to actually look at these issues.
I've heard word that Homeland Security is already looking into it.
Harmeet Dillon has come out and said she's a Justice Department head honcho and said, we're going to investigate this. How about we investigate the Federal Reserve? I mean, really, if we really got fired up about this, there's 10 trillion. We're talking about 20 billion, right? Or 10 billion or a billion, or who knows what the number is. There's all kinds of allegations. It will have a total at some point.
Yeah.
But we don't know what the number is. But let's say it's 20 billion. There's $10 trillion of counterfeit cash on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. And we're so mentally brain dead, we accept this as okay. And we have to pay this off. They created it out of thin air. They gave it to the government that squandered it on programs like you're seeing here in Minnesota. God, they didn't use that $10 trillion to build bridges and fix highways. They have these programs all over the country. Now they're popping up with Somali fraud in Texas and Ohio. We're calling the Somalis a pirate culture. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not a Somali.
We have to let it all come out, I guess.
Well, but my point is, where are you going to really fix this at? Are we going to be running around like the little Dutch boy, putting fingers and toes in the dike? And then there's this giant breach in the dike called $10 trillion on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet that I have to pay back, that you have to pay back. Where does the interest go? Who gets that interest on that credit? There's interest on that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody's getting the cash.
And even if it isn't cash, I think it's the great way of setting up a system where then they obtain all the actual materials, the land, the things that actually matter.
Right.
Because if the US dollar then collapsed, oh, they're fine. They're golden. They have the real stuff. But poor old me with
what Klaus Schwab calls that, right?
What?
Stakeholder capitalism. We used to have shareholder capitalism. Shareholder. Any Grundun could buy shares in a company.
Yeah.
But see, that doesn't matter anymore. Who is the owner of the resources that matters.
Yeah, because then it's always going to withstand any currency. The currency is not going to matter.
Because you own the gold mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to run around now, and this is great. Let's wake up. Okay, here in Minnesota, on the 8th of January, Speaker of the House, Lisa Demuth, will be holding an event with the Senate Majority Leader here in Minnesota at United Healthcare, sponsored by Axios. Now, if anybody knows what Axios is, Lisa Demuth, last time I checked, she's a Republican. Last time I checked, she had an R after name. She's going to a forum with the Democratic Senate leader, Sponsored by Axios. Do you know what Axios is? You don't, do you?
I don't. I'm
Have
trying
you
to
ever
read
heard
on
of it?
quick. Never heard of it.
Why don't you pop it up and read what comes up? I'm just curious how they fence it on the internet. She's going to be holding a Axios. Read that there. What does that say? Axios is a American news website
based in Arlington, Virginia. It was founded in 2016 and launched by the following year by former Politico journalist Jim
Vander High and Mike
Vander High.
Allen.
Yeah, and Roy Schwartz. The site's name is based on ancient Greek. Okay, so that doesn't really tell us what it is, though.
What it is a super liberal website. I mean, it's Alex Jones for the left.
Oh, boy.
But they don't play it like that because they're journalists.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that watch it don't realize they're watching the Alex Jones of the left because it's just done so professionally.
Yeah.
No bombast. I was listening to one of these people on MSNBC this morning, and he was making comments, and I'm listening to him, and he was just like assuming the close. This is something we do in sales. You assume the close. And he was just making statements that were just completely ridiculous, but they sounded so important and accurate because he's on the set, and it's, MSNBC, and it just has this air of legacy.
Yeah.
Because we trust him. Because it goes all the way back to the way back. Like for someone like me, when I was young, we had 3 television stations. That was it. You can't even imagine that, can you?
No.
ABC, CBS, ABC, what they call the legacy media. That's all there was. Now, can you understand why we, the people, believed the magic bullet theory? For example, we believed that John Kennedy was killed by a lone gunman in Dallas, and a bullet zigzagged around in the car like it had a brain. They called it the magic bullet because bullets don't do that. I mean, you know how bullets work because you kill things with bullets, right?
Yeah.
They're very predictable.
Yeah. Well, also unpredictable because depending on what round you're shooting, something as small as a little twig can change its trajectory completely off course.
Yes, that is true.
So
But it doesn't enter someone's neck, go downwards instead of straight ahead. Okay, it hit a vertebrae. It hits the guy in the front seat, shoots him 2 or 3 times, go back and hit the president again. Things like, that's why it was a magic bullet.
Yeah.
It had a trajectory that was magical. It could have happened.
It just kept its speed the whole time.
Well, it's like what you're saying. Bullets do very unpredictable things depending on what they hit. Their path can be deflected. They can actually move around in a circle like they have a brain.
Yeah, have you seen that one movie where they throw the guns and then they're able to make the bullet curve?
That's correct. This bullet was the magic. We believed it. We believed that the North Vietnamese attacked the United States Navy in the Gulf of Tonkin. That was a false flag. We believed a lot of things. We only had 3 journalistic sources for television, and everybody was totally watching television because it was new.
Yeah.
We were all reading newspapers before that.
And why would you ever expect that somebody was lying either? When it's a brand new thing and it's all pretty and looking legacy like you're explaining.
And it was also a first turning. I mean, after 88 million people died at the end of World War II, people said, whoa, maybe we better not act like that. It lasts for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
Where people are a little bit more legitimate, like they're glad they're alive. Things like that. But we got the Federal Reserve. Now we got Lisa Damuth, who I don't speak against very often because she's a very good politician and she hides her tracks very well. But she needs money now. So she's showing up at United Healthcare, a $400 billion government-subsidized health insurance. When I say it's government-subsidized, it's a part of the system that delivers the Affordable Care Act. And she's showing up there in an Axios interview with her counterpart, Democrat counterpart in the Minnesota Senate, the Senate Majority Leader, Erin Murphy, I think is her name. And they're going to be interviewed on the United Healthcare campus. Now, I want you to just think about this. There's 2 ways to think about it. Number 1, she's a politician. She's meeting the opposing side, and she's been invited by a liberal media group, and she's going. And she's having it at United Healthcare. Okay, seems legitimate to me. And to most people, you can make a case, seems legitimate. No, let's look at it from the other perspective. She's being invited and will attend an event at an organization that's under federal investigation for fraud. I mean, they are. United Healthcare is under investigation for its billing practices related to the Affordable Care Act, I think. Here comes winter. In winter, good tires aren't a luxury. They're a necessity for safety. At TireGet.com, getting your winter tires is quick, easy, and priced right. With TireGet.com, you order online, install right by your house, and stay safe on the road this winter season. Is a $400 billion company. Wasn't that the CEO of this company that got capped by Luigi? So, I mean, there's a lot of issues at play here with this company. People know there's something wrong with healthcare. I mean, do people know something's wrong with healthcare?
Yeah. I think we know something's wrong, but I don't think anybody has the same agreement on.
But let's go look at a
is.
bunch of daycare centers.
Yeah.
Let's focus on this $20 billion over here. This is one health insurance provider, $400 billion in annual revenue. $400 billion. What a half of that money is a scam. Why aren't we we got $10 trillion on the Federal Reserve's books. Can't do much about that. Can't do much about United Healthcare. How about Xcel Energy? I told you before we went on. They just got a gas rate increase of 6.8% for next year.
Yeah.
That's a $14 billion company, a monopoly run by a public utility commission, which is appointed by our elected representatives. $14 billion. I wonder how much money's getting robbed in that deal. Because nobody's watching. You see, when your government is stealing, because that's what this is, because the government is there to protect us. Let's even blaming it on the Somalis is a scam. It's the government that's allowing this. I said this, how many times have I said on the podcast? It's foreign policy.
Yeah.
You can't steal billions of dollars and nobody knows about it. It's like the count room in casino. Remember how many times we played that video?
Scene? Yeah.
And everybody's counting and everybody's stealing and nobody lifts up their head. The government is robbing us. We're getting robbed. We have a $7 trillion federal budget. What a half of it's fraud. Could we get our minds wrapped around the fact that maybe half of our taxes is being robbed? That our taxes, just by putting honest people in the government. I mean, you'd have to refresh the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know how you get somebody's attention? In this part, Bama's kind of on the track, but we got to use rule of law. And did you say about Ilhan Omar she should go to jail? Were we on air when you said that?
No, I think it was right before. Yeah.
Great. What did you say?
I said that I see a lot of people always saying deport Ilhan Omar, and in my opinion, she's committed enough crimes that no, you're not just gonna leave America and
You
go back.
suspect her of committing crimes,
Sorry,
and
I
she's
suspect
due a trial
Yeah,
in front of a jury
I
of her
forget I have
peers.
to watch how I speak.
If we don't start to default to the institutions and processes that made this country great, we're going to live in a dictatorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she's entitled to being innocent until she's proven guilty, which that's a thing on X that's a little bit sus because people are just convicted on X.
Yeah.
They can't be convicted on X.
Now, yeah, I look at the evidence that I've seen or been presented myself, and I have my own opinions, but at the end of the day, she needs to see her day in court. If she committed wrong, she should be imprisoned. She should not
She's
just
entitled
get
to a trial in front of the jury of her peers if our government actually investigates her.
Yeah.
See, this is the Nick Shirley benefit. It could create so much friction, so much sand in the gears, that it forces the government to investigate itself.
Yeah.
This has been missing for a very, very long time. Except when it came to Trump, because he was an outsider. He wasn't part of the club. He wasn't part of the club. So he got the full weight. It's like the Epstein thing. The Epstein thing's been banging around for 20 years. It still never came out. Why? Come on. We don't know why, but we can suspect why.
Yeah.
What we need is real investigation. So how do you get there? You know, we're rambling on about this, and the only thing that really matters to me is you show up on January 7th at the Wayzata Central Middle School at 7:00, and I don't care where in the state or where in the country you live, fly in. Stelios and Skinny said they'd fly in. Fly in. Let's get this thing going, because it's going to take real people entering the political parties, both of them, because they're the two, now it's two cheeks of the same asshole.
Yeah.
Used to be two wings of the same corrupt bird.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're in on it together because it's their business. It's their business model. You notice people go into government, they got $100,000 of assets, and 10 years later, they're worth $30 million.
Yeah.
How'd they do that? You see, this has to stop. It only stops when you start coming to the meetings and get trained and go to caucus and enter the party and vote for real people. Lisa Damath, I don't know. I'm not in her head. I don't know why she's going to this thing sponsored by Axios at United Healthcare, speaking with her counterpart in the Minnesota State Senate. I don't know what's in her head, but I know what's in my head. It's completely disqualifying that she would do that, because I want leadership that protests this system. It's not Axios. It's the venue at United Healthcare. That'd be like me going to a debate at the political headquarters of the American Nazi Party. I mean, I would see a benefit for doing it, but I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't legitimize them.
Yeah.
They're not Republicans. United Healthcare is under investigation. We know our medical system is not working. Wait till they start investigating all these other programs, which are all related to home health care, adult, caring for the elderly, transporting sick people. It's all health care related. What's the most profitable business in America? Are you ready?
Yep.
A young person who's not yet an adult who has chronic degenerative conditions. That is the most, because, oh my God, it's a young person. We don't want them to die.
Yeah.
We got to give them the most. And they hook those people up to the machine and suck every last dollar out of every one of us, because that kid doesn't have any money. We're paying for that. Instead of, you know what, Lisa Damath, how about coming up with an educational program that extends longevity and compresses morbidity? Why don't we hang around with those people? Why don't we work on that? The MAGA idea, which Robert Kennedy is trying to, push ahead. Like, let's get off of seed oils and go to beef tallow. Really simple things that we could do. Here's another company, Cargill, right here in Minnesota. It's 5 minutes from the office, right from this studio. It's 5 minutes away. The largest privately held company in the world, an agricultural and commodity products company. Anybody investigating Cargill? Nick, send Nick a message. Go investigate Cargill.
Yeah.
You know why he's not going to do that? That'll get him killed.
You think it's that big?
I know it's that big.
Hmm.
Even me talking about it is dangerous. Talking about the Federal Reserve. These people that run this machine love everybody pointing out this shiny object. And we have to, because it's awful fraud. But it's so far from the real fraud, the kind of fraud that has you pointing and clicking for convenience and believing that the police are going to show up to protect you instead of having your own self-defense strategies. We've outsourced both our hard work, because we want things to be easy. Remember the Adamic blessings we were talking about?
Yeah.
We don't want the Adamic blessings. We want convenience and safety. We've traded our sovereign citizenship away. That's the ultimate corruption. The ultimate corruption. How do we change that? Within ourselves. You think we're going to hang a bunch of people over this deal is going to change anything? No, it's a show in the theater of politics. The only thing that solves this as we go into the New Year's is a New Year's resolution that I will be a sovereign citizen in 2026, whatever that takes you, whatever you have to do by any means necessary. And I'm trying to make it easy and organize a system which Bama, again, said, I'm wasting my time because the elections are corrupt. Yes, Bama, they might be corrupt. What are you going to do? Sit at home on a couch and suck your thumb? We got to get into the streets and we got to protest. Nick did us a great service. He's revealed, he's torn the Band-Aid off a huge wound. What are we going to do with it? Well, I'll tell you what the machine's going to want us to do. Put a bunch of Somalis in jail, deport a bunch of Somalis, and then back to business as usual.
And I think like to their insurance, I'm pretty confident of, is now that Tim Walz is being so talked about on like how he should be out of office and then how he's doubling down on it. I think that they want Tim Walz in on that. So then if the general consensus becomes, no, this isn't just the Somalians, this is government policy, they're going to throw out their politician off shit.
So that would be called a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. So then it's also just the perfect scapegoat. Both of
And
them
do you
are covered,
think
and
they
then
care
people can
if
continue.
a Republican becomes the governor for 4 years? No, they don't care.
No.
As long as it's not Phil Parrish.
Yeah, because
Phil
would catch that so
as
fast.
long as it's not Mike Lindell. As long as it's not somebody outside the machine that would actually expose everything. Hey, I want you to call Walter Hudson. Walter, if you're watching, please come on and talk about the fraud committee, because you have a very good point to make about how this has contributed. There's other people that are impugning the process, and I would think that it would be a very appropriate thing. Ask Walter to come on to talk next week about it, or as soon as he can, based on his schedule, about the committee and about what's going on and how our elected representatives can help push this process forward.
Okay.
Because you know what? And this is for my Action for Liberty fans that are out there. None of these people are going to be legitimate unless we force them to by participating in the process. And I said to Bama, start your hating and start participating. If all you want to do is talk, go to a psychologist. You want to change the country? Make a New Year's resolution to become a sovereign citizen in 2026. Come to Minnesota Speaks the night of January 1st, 7 p.m. Royce White will be there. I'll be doing caucus training. And then that following Wednesday night, the 7th, you'll be there, Wayzata Central Middle School.
Yep.
And let's see how many people we can get there. Let's see if you could you help me fill that auditorium? Could you please bring 20 people with you? I'm talking to people like Steve Cherney down in Rice County, our friend Kathy. Please come. Please. Laura, come on down. It's not going to happen. You know, we've got supporters all over the state. We just don't have that many supporters in CD3. What a surprise. What a surprise. Martino, if you're listening, please come. Chop, please come. Bring people. We need to organize. And I'll tell you why we need to organize. Play number 1.
Where institutions of freedom have lain dormant, the United Nations can offer them new life. These institutions play a crucial role in our quest for a new world order, an order in which no nation must surrender one iota of its own sovereignty, an order characterized by the rule of law rather than the resort to force, the cooperative settlement of disputes rather than anarchy and bloodshed, and an unstinting belief in human rights. And finally, you may wonder about America's role in the new world that I've described. Let me assure you, the United States has no intention of striving for a Pax Americana. However, we will remain engaged. We will not retreat and pull back into isolationism. We will offer friendship and leadership. And in short, we seek a Pax Universalis, built upon shared responsibilities and aspirations. To all assembled, we have an opportunity to spare our sons and daughters the sins and errors of the past. We can build a future more satisfying than any our world has ever known. The future lies undefined before us, full of promise, littered with peril. And we can choose the kind of world we want. One blistered by the fires of war and subjected to the whims of coercion and chance, or one made more peaceful by reflection and choice. Take this challenge seriously. Inspire future generations to praise and venerate you, to say, on the ruins of conflict, these brave men and women built an era of peace and understanding. They inaugurated a new world order, an order worth preserving for the ages. Good luck to each and every one of you, and thank you very, very much.
My blood runs cold when I hear that.
It's scary when you hear them say New World Order. Back then they were so much more open about it. Now it's considered a conspiracy. And me even talking about it, I bet YouTube transcription's probably catching up on it. So now we have that little flag at the bottom that says New World Order conspiracy.
What are they going to do? Call Bush a conspiracy theorist? He was the head conspirator. We're going to talk about this just for a little bit. You know, and I'm not saying that there weren't people involved in this at the beginning. Now, this was in the 90s. It's a long time after World War II already. But I mean, this thing got going long before World War II. The start of the Federal Reserve was the cornerstone of the New World Order.
Yeah.
So this is not a new project, this New World Order. This goes back to wherever you want to put a stick pin in time. Because human beings have been working on making us gods of this planet since the Adamic blessings. The whole point of those blessings was to remind us we're not gods. You see what he was saying? A universalis, an order that can last for the ages. It's a replacement of a previous order. What was that order? I don't know. Maybe it was that cross on Calvary. Maybe it was that order. But the point I'm trying to bring out is this is not hidden. It's not new. And no matter how many people had allegiance to it for good purposes when it started, there was a lot of people when it started that did not have good intentions for we the people. It spun completely out of control. And now we're to the fourth turning where your child care is a scam. I mean, it's one thing when we're robbing half the weapons. Let's just talk about how goofy this really is. You know, if the U.S. military has $4 trillion of weapons on the books and $2 trillion can't be confirmed through the inventory audit process, well, those weapons are somewhere. I mean, something happened to them. And they might have even been used off the books for some kind of good purpose, at least in somebody's mind, a weapon. Who knows? But now when the government is stealing at this level, what I'm saying is somebody in the government probably thought it wasn't stealing when they emptied out that warehouse of TOW missiles and gave it to the Ukrainians off the books. And they took cash on the side because after all, it was an off-the-books transaction.
Yeah.
But they had this thing, hey, I might as well get rich and the Ukrainians need the weapons or the Palestinians or whoever they gave it to. Who knows? I don't know. But the weapons are out there. Because if you go look at the cartels in Mexico, they're better armed than the Mexican military. So the weapons are out there. The point I'm bringing out is when your government is stealing, everybody steals. And that's where we're living today. I am a legitimate, honest business person. I am confronted every day with people that do not have and do not hold the kind of standards of doing business that I do. And I'll tell you, I give up my standards and make money, or I can sit here and go broke, hoping that you'll be a sovereign citizen and we can refresh what the idea of America is all about. Because it's gone down the hopper with this New World Order idea. And let me tell you, people know about it. Please play number 2.
A dangerous subversive elite has managed to infiltrate the highest levels of Western institutions and governments, to implement the criminal plan of the Agenda 2030. In many self-proclaimed democratic states, the voices denouncing this global coup are being silenced through censorship, intimidation, psychiatrization, and even arrest. Among the victims of the totalitarian regime quietly establishing itself in Europe, Canada, Australia, and other vassal nations of the United Nations, NATO, World Health Organization, and World Economic Forum, all private entities funded by the same powers, is lawyer Rainer Fulmich, unjustly imprisoned and still awaiting for a fair trial. His crime is having dared to speak the truth in a world of criminal lies. I call on Catholics and all people of goodwill to raise their voices in defense of those persecuted by the globalist regime. It is not Attorney Fulmich who should be imprisoned, but those who committed the greatest crime ever against humanity: Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, Ursula von der Leyen, Albert Bourla, and all their accomplices and emissaries, especially those in institutional positions. Free Rainer Fulmich.
That's Cardinal Vigano. Cardinal Vigano was defrocked under the previous Pope. Vigano called him the Argentine, which is like saying he was a Satanist. This is the Pope that just died. Here he is popping up, and he's talking about a global coup. A global coup. He's talking about a conspiracy that happened very quietly through the institutions of power, which was the implementation of the New World Order, which is an the old order, which would have something to do with faith in Christ. Just, that's his interest, of course. But he's talking about one case, Rainer Fulmich, who's an attorney who was working on the COVID crisis and the vaccine issues, and he was jailed. He was imprisoned under charges of embezzlement. He maintains his innocence. I don't know the evidence. But when a man of this kind of moral clarity comes out and seeks his freedom and uses his imprisonment to draw attention to a worldwide regime of censorship, which we're sitting here, we're looking at our YouTube numbers. We're being censored on YouTube.
Yeah.
Suppressed, and the only way I'm ever going to break out of this on YouTube is if you repost the links. And I mean, really do it because you care about the message. Of course, if you don't do it, we're still going to be on YouTube. We're just going to have a small audience because YouTube's not going to help us promote the content. True statement, right?
True. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're seeing with the numbers. There can always be reasons for the numbers, but yeah, the numbers don't make sense. You can see an average.
They're supposed to make me feel like the content's no good and I suck.
Yep.
And it does have that effect over time because you're going, man, this isn't working.
Different? Yeah.
But no, it's not being allowed to work. We just put out a bunch of shorts and they were getting pretty good distribution. And all of a sudden, 20 people are watching the shorts.
Yep.
That's not the shorts.
It's smaller than our subscriber limit.
I mean, it's just crazy.
It's nuts.
So we're going to have to come up with guerrilla marketing. Like, please repost the links.
Another helpful way that we could do it is go to the Free People Radio store. We have awesome t-shirts.
The Free People Radio store. Supporting Free People Radio. Look at this one. I went out with a campaign coordinator for the Royce White for Senate campaign, and she had bought this, cut the top off of it, and it was a very fashionable. I mean, we should actually make them with the tops cut off. She turned it into a very fashionable garment of women's apparel. I was quite impressed.
Nice.
But this is cool, right? This is cool. We need you to go buy t-shirts, please. We don't need you to. We're asking you, please help us. And the same thing goes with TireGet. TireGet.com. We got tires for you. This is how we fund the broadcast. Tanner's been very nice. I forget about it. He's reminding me. He could tell I was going to go through an hour and a half and forget about the economic engine of the company. And I do that because I'm doing this. Ding dong, Adam Schwartz, he said I was a grifter. What a joke.
We're terrible grifters.
Yeah,
we're grifting.
Yeah,
over here.
Adam, if we're grifting, man, we're negative grifters. It's backwards. So my point is, we need your support. We need you to please come to Minnesota Speaks. Please come to the peer-to-peer meeting on January 7th. Please go to the Free People's Store. Buy stuff. Just buy it. Give it to your friends. We're going to use the money to expand the programming. We'd like to get a new set.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to get my own set going here. And the tires, everybody needs tires. Everybody needs tires. So please, next time you need tires, somebody, a friend of mine, oh, David, I can't believe it. I just bought 4 tires. I forgot you.
Darn.
What can you say? It's okay. Maybe next time. Let's just for fun recognize how everything is connected, because we're talking about President Bush at the Hall of the United Nations, the General Assembly Hall, talking about the New World Order. And then we got Cardinal Vigano defrocked. He's no longer a cardinal. You know what defrocked means?
Not like excommunicated?
That's exactly what they did to him. When he's talking about censorship, he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about Rainer Fulmich. But he was censored by the Catholic Church because he was calling out the Catholic Church's corruption. In every one of these institutions, there's like here in the Minnesota government, there's whistleblowers. There's people that come forward and tell everything. I mean, the things that people have brought to me that they've said, please promote this, I have to stop and say, whoa. Because the evidence is out there if it's legitimate evidence. So let's see what happens next. Thank you, Nick. Great job.
Yeah,
great
thanks,
job.
Nick.
But I'm trying to tell you and share with you, everything is connected, and I'm going to try to prove that to you. And why am I doing it? Because it doesn't change unless you come to the peer-to-peer meeting. Minnesota is the epicenter of worldwide communism. I got people on X that I'm in constant contact with that know this. We've been putting out this information for years. This is the center. We want to beat them on their home court. If we can beat them on their home court, man, that's a big deal. We got the candidates. We got the organization. We just need more people because many hands make light work. We got to get into the Republican Party of Minnesota. Caucus is February 3rd. Only 2,200 Minnesota citizens determine who the Republican Party is going to endorse to be its standard bearer in this very important upcoming election in 2026. If we let the current crew that's in there do its thing, we're going to get more of the same. We'll have some sacrificial lambs. Some people will get deported. Some people will go to jail, and business will continue as usual. If you really want to change this, get involved. Get involved. You become a delegate. That is the most important person in America, a self-governing sovereign citizen who participates in party politics and says who they feel should be endorsed to represent we the people. And everything is connected. Let me show you how. Please play number 3.
I have no doubt after our meeting that President Yanukovych knows what he needs to do. The whole world is watching. We want to see a better future for Ukraine. I made it absolutely clear to him that what happened last night, what has been happening in security terms here, is absolutely impermissible in a European state, in a democratic state. The United States stands with you in your search for justice, for human dignity, for security, for economic health, and for the European future that you have chosen and that you deserve.
That's Victoria Nuland. She's been involved in governance in the State Department for many decades. She's married to Arch Neocon Kagan. That was her talking in a light snow during what has been affectionately labeled the Maidan Revolution. That's when a centrist, and I mean between the East and the West, or possibly even a Russian-leaning government, was overthrown. overthrown with the help of the Obama administration. Very well documented that this happened. It was an intervention into a free and sovereign people's political process. Of course, the reason that that was justified is because they said the Russians are also intervening, which is true. But the West, right there at that moment, put in place the process that led to the Ukraine war that we're suffering under right now. And who is Nuland, and where did she get her ideas from? Well, her ideas come from a friend of George Bush, who that was up there talking in front of the United Nations, a political strategist and geopolitical strategist and political participant, a man by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski was an academic, got his start as a teacher, used to teach at Harvard. He wrote a very famous book in 1997 called The Grand Chessboard, where he talked about the New World Order and the importance of the world island. His ideas went back to Mackinder's world island theory. Can't let the Russians have control of the heartland of Eurasia. The Europeans had to keep control of it. That'd be the British, the former colonial empires of Western Europe. This is a battle that's been going on. We're not looking at the New World Order here. We're looking at the old world order duking it out for the last time. And the ideas that are being implemented were set up by Brzezinski on the one pole and Henry Kissinger on the other. And you say, well, what has Victoria Nuland got to do with Brzezinski and Kissinger? She never met either one of them. But she went to the academic institutions that were populated by scholars that were influenced or were directly involved with Brzezinski and with Kissinger. In fact, both Brzezinski and Kissinger were at the Center for Strategic Studies, the CSIS, Strategic International Studies, where a candidate for governor, Kristen Robbins, worked for many years. Yes, isn't it interesting how everything's connected? Lisa Damoth's going over to United Healthcare. She's a centrist candidate representing the machine. We got another one. If you don't like vanilla, we got chocolate.
Yeah.
Whatever you like. We're Baskin Robbins. We got a flavor for you. They're all ice cream. All of them. Unless you go to the Phil Parrish, Mike Lindell end of the pool. Then you get into what they call the crazies. I mean, I'm reading it on X. If you're reading it on X, oh no, we can't let these guys are crazy. If Mike Lindell gets the endorsement, Tim Walz gets 4 more years as governor. Really? After all this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so here, this is how everything's connected. We've got a candidate for governor, Kristen Robbins, who's a House member, who worked at the Center for Strategic International Studies, CSIS, where both Brzezinski and Kissinger held court. Yes, she worked. I wouldn't work there. I'm opposed to the New World Order. So I'm not going to participate except to show up and throw brickbats at it. Like, maybe I would go over to United Healthcare and do a meeting with the Axios if I was going to stand up and say, this whole system is corrupt, right? Then you end up like Royce White, people criticizing you, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. See, it takes courage to stand up and say, this is completely ridiculous, the way this is being done. So Brzezinski and Kissinger influenced generations of academics who then teach people like Victoria Nuland. And what is the net result of all this New World Order stuff? Because what did Bush say? We got to eliminate war. Well, that means you got to eliminate everybody that doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, to get everybody on the same page would be very difficult, right? Well, you're looking at what happens when the New World Order pursues its end game, like in Gaza. In Gaza, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was just at Mar-a-Lago yesterday, stood up in front of the microphone with President Trump, and Netanyahu is advocating for more military involvement and engagement to knock down the Iranian regime because they're not participating. That makes them really bad guys. And they might be really bad guys. But my point is this. It's the fear that this generates. The fear that this kind of fraud generates. My God, we got all these people in the country that aren't real citizens, and they're robbing me. Oh my God, we've got Islamic terrorists in the country. They're going to kill us. We got a war in the Ukraine. The Russians. Oh my God. And the anxiety levels are getting higher and higher. Even if you're just sitting at home mowing your lawn, drinking a beer, and raising your family, your core anxiety level has been raised. You're not safe in your own home. Do you understand? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, there's a way to fix that. You know what that is?
What's that?
Real ID. Real ID. You see, this is the importance of electing people that have principle. And what is the principle? It's the principles of republicanism that undergird this country, because when we give those up, we're no longer a Republican form of governance. What are those principles? How can I be a sovereign citizen when I'm set up in the Real ID for what? It's not, that was just a transit to the digital ID. They already knew they were heading towards the digital ID when they did the Real ID. The Federal Real ID Act of 2005 was primarily sold to the public as a critical national security measure to prevent terrorism, identity fraud, directly addressing vulnerabilities exposed by the September 11, 2001 attacks. So let's never let a crisis go to waste. Oh my God, those terrorists flew those planes into the buildings. Can't let that happen again. Real ID. Real ID. But you know what? Real ID is just a transit on the way to the digital ID. Because once everybody agrees, and this thing was not uptaken right away. You know how that law passed in 2005? Listen to this. This is hilarious. The House, it was primarily passed with Republican votes, number one. The people that are supposed to conserve our freedoms and the Republic, oh no, they were all in on this. 219 Republicans voted yay, and only 8 voted nay on the Real ID Act of 2005.
Wow.
Now, you want to keep electing people like this? Well, of course you're afraid. Because look at all this fear. Maybe the fear is kind of like a porn, just to get us excited. So we'll agree to things that we would never agree to under less onerous circumstances. I mean, why would I want to have a digital ID that biometrically identifies me? What's the benefit to me? Well, they tell me what the benefit is. I can't get government services without it. I can't get health care without it. I can't get on the internet without it. I can't bank without it, and I can't buy food without it. So if I don't have it, I can't have any benefits. Sounds like a takeaway, not a give to. But see, our Republican elected officials voted for this in the House of Representatives 219 to 8. And let me tell you how goofy it was in the Senate. Because, no senator really wanted to have this on their record. Because this is 2005. People had some memories still of cowboys and Indians. The history of the country.
Yeah.
Most of those people died off now. But at that time, there's a lot of people left that grew up on John Wayne and Kirk Douglas. They weren't down with a Real ID. Have you ever met somebody that said it's none of your business?
Yeah.
Everybody I grew up with was like that.
Yeah.
See, they were all died off now. In the Senate never even held a vote on the Real ID. It passed 100 to nothing. Every senator, Democrat and Republican, passed the Real ID Act in the Senate, but it was never discussed. It was tacked on to an emergency funding bill for the war in Iraq. So there was never even a vote on that standalone idea in the Senate. Because no senator wanted to go home and say, I voted for Real ID.
Yeah.
Because somebody might have grown up on John Wayne and said, well, partner, I don't think we can agree about this. So they ran it through quiet. And that's how it got ensconced. Now, the states had to implement it. But before we get to the state of Minnesota, there were 8 resistors in the House of Representatives. And I'm just going to read their names because it's a really interesting list of people. You're not going to know any of these names, but I know these names.
Okay.
Howard Cobble, John Duncan of Tennessee, Jeff Flake of Arizona, Bob Inglis of South Carolina, Ron Paul of Texas, Butch Otter of Idaho, Jim Ramstad of Minnesota, and Tom Tancredo of Colorado voted against this. Only 8. And this group of people is not a mega group of people. You see, now this Jeff Flake, he's thought of as one of the most sellout rhino Republicans in the history of the country. And he was a senator. He went from the House to the Senate. TireGet.com, where convenience meets the road. Why make buying tires complicated? With TireGet.com, it's simple. TireGet.com, one site, a few clicks, and the tires of your choice are shipped to an installer right by your house. But he voted against Real ID when he was a House member, which means this stuff is more complicated than we're led to believe. Things take a little bit of discernment. These 8 brave men, for whatever reason, internally they were motivated, voted against a system which is going to end up being the mark of the beast system because they were conservatives, which tells me that not everything about conservatism is necessarily bad. We got to keep the good that's there in the conservative movement and sort out what part of the conservative movement has been infiltrated by foreign ideas, even Trotskyite ideas, that have nothing to do with the history of this country. And of course, this all exists in individual people. I'm a mixed bag. I have lots of different ideas. They don't all line up. Well, you know what lines it up? Shared, aligned interests. I'm not looking for ideological conformity. I'm looking for aligned interests. And here's the interest I want to see achieved. Extended and expanded longevity and compressed morbidity. If we focus on what does that, everything else will fall into place. This Real ID Act had to get passed here in Minnesota. And here in Minnesota, well, guess what happened here? There was a House vote, 120-11. So almost all the Republicans again here voted yes for Real ID, setting up the digital ID, which is going to be built on the architecture of the Real ID. It was already thought through and put in place in 2005. 20 years ago. These people are decades ahead of us in what they're rolling out. We are reactive. The people that I'm fighting against are proactive. There's one way to save this republic, and that's you showing up at that meeting and you becoming a member of your party and you standing on principles that you have developed in your life. And the anchor of those principles is the search for truth. Don't let people lie to you. When they lie, you can feel it, call them out. Have the courage to stand up, raise your hand. I'm so-and-so. I want to make a motion. My motion is, get off the stage. You're a liar. Of course, you need the votes to do that. And then what they're going to do, of course, because it's all about keeping them white starched shirt, blue suit wearing, red, white, and blue tie wearing, American flag lapel pin wearing. I married my high school sweetheart, went to Harvard Law School, and served in the military. We want to keep those people in there as the paragon of what's the best of our society when we're getting robbed at an intergalactic level, and these are the people that set up the conditions to rob us. But let's keep electing them because they look good. Well, let me tell you a little bit about some of the people that emerged from the muck in 1776, because we had a similar crisis of governance. George Washington. Do you know George Washington owned slaves?
Yeah, I have heard about that.
He owned a lot of slaves. Do you know that it's rumored and not proven that he had an affair with a slave? It's not really an affair because she's a slave. She's property.
Okay.
And he had a slave child, allegedly. A slave's child. I don't know if that's true or not. But I do know this. To enslave people takes a certain kind of mindset. I mean, is that discrediting? No, it's not discrediting. It's still George Washington. He was not a perfect person. He can be discredited, and people try to discredit him. It doesn't discredit him for me. But he did own slaves. And that's a pretty mixed bag, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
But he was still a great man. He's still the father of our country. Did he have an affair? I don't know. Maybe he did. He owned it. It was breeding stock. I don't know what he did. It's a rumor. It's a rumor. Thomas Jefferson. There's a great name. Do you know he owned slaves?
Yeah.
Thousands, hundreds, 600. He owned 600 slaves. 600. It's a small
So then
army.
what? You just have to like hire people to manage. How do you manage 600 slaves?
Brutally. You manage them brutally because they want to run away. It's no fun to be a slave.
Yeah.
So you have to suppress them in every possible dimension.
Okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. Isn't it wild how the slave mindset, they keep them so fearful? 600 to 1, you're telling me they never just decided to gang up on them?
Have you ever looked at the techniques they use to control these people?
Yeah, but it's now look at today.
Look at today what?
We could outnumber these elites that we have issues with politically.
Look how they control
so
us.
easily. Yeah.
Look at how they control.
Now it's a lot more comfortable than chattel slavery, but like it's crazy to think it's the same exact thing.
Let's think about how smart these people really are. You have slaves. You work them to keep your costs low, to generate a product that you create that you sell for a profit. Okay, you still have to feed them. You still have to police them. You still have to take care of them when they're sick. You got to transport them. You got a whole industry of taking care of slaves. Why not convince the slaves that they're free and let them work for you and monetize them?
Yeah.
Why should they be a negative on the balance sheet when you can turn them into an asset?
Why do I got to manage them when I can make them manage themselves?
No, I'll manage them and make them think they're managing themselves.
Yeah. Wow.
Thomas Jefferson owned 600 slaves. He also had a long-term illicit sexual relationship with his enslaved woman that he owned, Sally Hemings, starting around 1787. That resulted in several children, and that has been confirmed by DNA evidence and historical accounts. So he was married and he was banging one of his properties. Does that make him not Thomas Jefferson? No, it makes him a man, a complicated man fighting against the deadly sins that live in every one of us, struggling to be the best he could, moments of soaring inspiration and moments of complete degradation. That's like, does that sound like every one of us?
Yeah. Because
but not the people we elect. Like Adam Schwartzy, a SEAL, Harvard, everything top. He doesn't have those problems. That's why we're supposed to trust him.
Yeah.
Or Kristen Robbins, or Lisa Damuth, or any of these people that they run out there. We're supposed to see them as somehow special. And then the people that criticize the system, they use these infidelities to discredit them. It has nothing to do with the political life of these people. Because this kind of depravity exists in me and every one of you. So it'll say that we've got some people out there, some political class of people that are somehow immune to this. We can trust them. Well, how's that for a scam? That would be called madmen. That's just advertising. Benjamin Franklin. Oh, there's a name we know and love, right?
Mm-hmm.
He owned 7 enslaved people. He was on the down low. He just wanted to have it for his personal usage.
Yeah.
He wasn't into industrial slavery. He just didn't want to go get his slippers in the morning. 7 slaves, okay, not that bad. But he did profit from slavery because he advertised in his newspapers that he owned for slave auctions. So he was into it. It was the culture of the time. He was a very well-known philanderer. Benjamin Franklin, man, he was out there. Now it's Benjamin Franklin. I mean, when you hear the name Benjamin Franklin, does it evoke positive?
I think electricity.
I think he was well known for his extramarital relationships, including fathering a famous illegitimate son, William Franklin.
Why was his son illegitimate?
It's just an affair.
Oh, okay.
He was married and he just had a kid on the
Gotcha.
side. That didn't discredit him from being a founder of our country.
Yeah.
He was just a poor, suffering human being trying to navigate the deadly sins and then expiating them by doing incredibly brave and insightful things for his fellow countrymen.
I think of it like, I don't know if this comparison would hold up the same, but it was the different times then. He grew up in that time. Today, I'm not necessarily going to blame any female and say that, oh, they're less of a person or they're not qualified to be in certain positions because they had an abortion. In the future, I think that we will look back and we'll look at abortion and be like, holy crap, how did people do that? That is terrible that that was happening. But I'm not going to discredit the female that grew up in that time and had an abortion, you know?
That's an interesting point.
That's kind of how I see it, that it's like, it's something bad.
That is a very good comment. And I hope everybody heard you, particularly the women that are listening. I really appreciate that comment.
Yeah.
That's a great comment. John Adams, there's always that guy out there that's in New York City living in a small tenement flat, and he drinks a fifth of rye a day, and he lives on fatback, and he dies at 105 years old. There's always that guy out there.
Yeah.
And we all want to be that guy.
This is too stubborn to die.
Well, he just, smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinks all day long, and lives on bacon fat, and lives to be 105 years old. That guy's out there. That's John Adams. John Adams was opposed to slavery his entire life, never owned a slave, never had an extramarital affair that anybody ever documented, and never had an estrangement from any of his family members, as so many of us are. So John Adams is the guy. Everybody wants to be John Adams. But interestingly, people don't talk about John Adams as much as they talk about George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. Interesting, isn't it? Then you get on to, the real skullduggerous people like Alexander Hamilton. The people that are out there having duels at 50 paces. Hamilton engaged in the first well-publicized affair, the first sex scandal of our nation's history, with a woman named Maria Reynolds in 1791. He published a confession about this affair to refute charges of blackmail and embezzlement. So this is like the Somalis. I'm a blackmailer and I'm an embezzler, but yeah, I admit to having an affair. Let's leave the blackmail and the embezzlement on the down low. Yes, you all had affairs too, after all. So, this is the way we roll. And, it does also show that he was a slave owner.
Mm.
James Madison owned over 100 enslaved people. We could go on and on.
Is Abraham Lincoln on that list?
Abraham Lincoln. You want to talk about presidents. I was going to skip it. But he's not on this list. Abraham Lincoln's downstream 100 years.
Yep.
He had a very troubled relationship with his wife, Mary Todd. It was not a happy union.
Mm.
Not happy. They lost some children. Of course, I wasn't there. I don't know why it wasn't happy. I mean, when you look at someone's house and you see the husband and wife or the boyfriend and girlfriend are very unhappy, and you make judgments about it, it's the man's fault. Must be. How do you know? I don't know if I said this to you off camera or on camera, but when there's a relationship and it's screwed up, the man always does things wrong.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that on the last podcast.
And then when the woman does things wrong, it's the man's fault that she did things wrong. Were you in the office with me? I said this to a divorce guy who was showing the studio to some people.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how this came up because I'm probably trying out material for podcasts. And he looked at me and goes, that's exactly what happened. I was divorced and she did all this terrible stuff and she said it was my fault and I believed her.
I went home and I self-reflected.
I set him free on one sentence. Presidents, Ronald Reagan, Saint Reagan, legendary coxman in Hollywood before he got married, got divorced. He was married and then he got divorced. Then he married Nancy Reagan, who was a nut job. Donald Trump divorced twice and lots of affairs. Crazy. Warren Harding, President Harding, multiple extramarital affairs, including a long-term one with a Carrie Fulton Phillips, lasted over a decade. I wonder how that went around at the Christmas table.
Yeah.
Honey, can I invite my girlfriend over for dinner? Do you mind?
You're so rude. Why won't you let me have my girlfriend over?
That kind of a thing, yes. Franklin Roosevelt. The left loves him. St. Franklin Roosevelt. Several extramarital affairs, notably with Lucy Mercer. That was his wife's social secretary.
My God.
Talking about where you sleep, right? Dwight Eisenhower. Oh, he of Beware of the Military-Industrial Complex fame. He's alleged to have had an extramarital affair with his wartime driver, Kay Summersby. John Kennedy, come on. Come on, John Kennedy doesn't even, everybody in your jet, they probably respect John Kennedy.
Yeah, we respect him, but he was a good-looking man. You can't tell me he doesn't have some dirt.
Notorious for multiple extramarital affairs, including with Marilyn Monroe.
What?
Oh, you didn't know this?
No, I didn't know this.
Oh, both he and his brother Bobby slept with Marilyn Monroe.
At the same time?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That's a little too kinky for a family-oriented show. You better block that one out. But maybe temporally at the same time. But who knows how kinky these dudes were? I don't know. I wasn't there, and I don't know if any of it's true. It's all being reported to me by PhD historians who I'm supposed to trust because I'm supposed to trust my universities. As if there's no fraud going on at the University of Minnesota. I mean, I want you to think this through. If billions of dollars are getting stolen by Somalis who have been in the country for 20 years, how much money is getting robbed at the university, which has been around for over 100 years? You want to see some real stealing? Give somebody a PhD.
Yeah.
Because then their reputation is beyond reproach. They've taken a professional pledge to represent we the people. It's professional ethic. Man, that's some great stealing. You ever notice all these priests that are screwing all these kids? They're professionals. That's a priestly class. They have a professional ethic.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to question a guy wearing a priest uniform until you realize that they're out there raping the whole country. You know? What about this doctrine thing? Can't even talk about it on this flat platform.
Yeah.
Lyndon Johnson, he's another one. Numerous extramarital affairs. Unbelievable. My point, Bill Clinton, come on. My point in going through this is, at this kind of a time in history, when everything's breaking down, I mean, it's obvious that it's all breaking down. It's not obvious to you. Well, everybody that's in this audience probably sees it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't. Thank you, Nick. Maybe more people are going to see how corrupt everything is.
I think also it's going to inspire more just self-reporters. There's a lot of people that just have time on their hands and they'd love to get some meta glasses and just start looking around.
Send them to the university.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this kind of a thing, when it's breaking down like this, who's got the courage to stand up and show up at a meeting and search for truth? Do I care if that person had an extramarital affair, if they're there talking and searching for truth and willing to go out and do the work to save the republic? I don't care. And ladies, I'm sorry if that offends you, but you know, for every affair, there's a woman involved. So if you're a lady and you're having an affair and you show up and you want to fight to save the republic with me, I'm not going to judge you. We got to find the people that have the courage to do the crazy thing, which is fighting the power. And I'll tell you, an anecdote, I don't know that this is true scientifically, but it seems to me that if you have the courage to screw your life up at these kind of levels, you have the courage to become a president. And if you can understand what I mean by saying that, you're going to understand why I'm saying I don't care what your past is if you show up and you want to do the work. Now, you can't be doing things that are completely illegitimate in the present. The process of republicanism is a baggage drop where we commit to the philosophy of republicanism. And what is the philosophy? That I am a sovereign of my own life. That as the sovereign of my own life, and this is the key one, this is the control on this whole deal, I respect minority rights, the rights of other citizens. You have to make that leap. Yes, I was given over to sin, but I've refreshed myself in the pursuit of defending the republic. I'm dropping my addiction to sin, and I'm dedicating myself to freedom. When you make that move, hey, that's a powerful move. And we want every one of those people to join us because you've got the courage to make the play. But you're sovereign. You respect minority rights. See, that's a tough one for Bama. You involve yourself in civic life. You have the courage to show up. and you believe in the common good, expanding longevity and compressing morbidity. That's our common interest. But they're going to do everything they can. When I say they, I mean the powers that be, the people that still hold the purse strings and still hold all the levers of power. All we are is a ragtag bunch of rebels trying to get organized to topple these people. Now, you just said there's way more of us than there are of them.
Yep.
But only if we show up at the meetings.
Exactly.
Only if we join the parties. Only if we do the work. Now, how many hours a month could that be? It could be a lot. But how much is your freedom worth to you? How much time does it take someone to go to the freepeoplesradio.com/store and spend $100 on T-shirts?
Less than 10 minutes.
Less than 10. And that we're going to use that money for political activity. You're going to have to buy tires from somebody. Buy them from me. I'll use that money to fund up this political movement. So please, let's do whatever we can from whatever vantage point we're in. And thank you to all the people that support me and support Free People Radio. It's deeply appreciated. I got a check in the mail. I didn't tell you this. I got a donation for $2,000.
Thank you to whoever sent that donation.
It's unbelievable. I'm not going to mention the name out of respect. But I mean, people do that. It's not unusual because people recognize what we're doing. And my goal for this particular viewer, who I know personally, is to become economically self-sufficient here at Free People Radio so that I don't need that kind of donation. That's my goal. And I can get there with your help by showing up at the meetings, by spreading the word about Free People Radio, by reposting the links, by buying the T-shirts, and buying the tires. We don't want charity. We want to be economically self-governing. But there's always the people that are going to work against us. You know, there's a woman on X, anonymous, of course. Her name is Natalie P. Natalie. I've seen her before. She's popped up. And every time she pops up attacking Royce and attacking me. And I think to myself, okay, who are you? And what are you? Because, you know, her attacks a lot of times go to Royce as an anti-Semite. And I asked her, are you Jewish? Because if you weren't Jewish, why would you care? In these days and times, right? Just looking at X. And she said, wow, that's identity politics. I said, you started it. You're trying to use identity politics. You're using the identity of the Jewish people to say Royce hates Jewish people. He's an anti-Semite. What a scurrilous charge.
Yeah.
To charge somebody with that. Well, let's just play number 4.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kobe. I was born and raised Jewish in Israel. Today, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind. Why do we only hear about anti-Semitism, but never about anti-Goyism, as taught in the Talmud? So what is anti-Goyism? It's a term that refers to prejudice or hostility by Jews towards non-Jews, often rooted in religious or cultural teachings. In the context of the Talmud, it includes passages that some interpret as promoting the idea that Goyim, non-Jews, are inferior or even enemies. The Talmud, which is our central text, contains passages that some interpret as promoting anti-Goyism. For instance, in the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Avodah Zarah 26b, it said, even the best of the Gentiles should be killed. Another example in Avodah Zarah 36b, it says, the daughters of idolaters, non-Jews, are in state of nidah, which means filth, from birth. The Sanhedrin 82a, whoever cohabits with a Gentile woman, zealots may strike him. And in the Tosafot commentary on Avodah Zarah 26b, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, the best of the Gentiles kill him. Let's also talk about Jesus in the Talmud. He is referred to as Yeshu and is portrayed as a sorcerer and a deceiver. In Sanhedrin 107b, it is discussed that Jesus was stoned and hanged on the eve of Passover, portraying him as a false prophet and a sorcerer. Now, I've searched and I couldn't find any derogatory references to Jews in the Christians or Muslim text. It seems that while we have these teachings in the Talmud, other religions don't have similar derogatory views about Jews. And I just want to be clear, anti-Semitism is real, but so is anti-Goyism. Both are forms of bigotry that need to be addressed. It's time to have an honest conversation about all forms of prejudice, not just ones that suit our Jewish narrative. So could it be that anti-Semitism is, in a way, Jewish karma for being a racist religion? I don't know. I think so. That's a heavy question, but one worth considering. If we acknowledge the derogatory views in our own texts, maybe we can start to understand the cycle of prejudice and work towards breaking it. So next time you hear about anti-Semitism, remember to ask, what about anti-Goyism? Let's talk about both, because true justice means recognizing all forms of discrimination, no matter where they come from.
Would you say he's Jewish?
I don't know.
I can't tell either.
I can't tell.
I think he's Jewish. He's speaking with authority.
And he seems to have good knowledge of the Talmud.
Well, he's putting on all the places where any of you can play this back and go look it up for yourself. I'm not going to look it up for you. You can look it up for yourself. But his message is really critical, and it's something that if Natalie is watching, Natalie, you suck. Because I went to your page on X, and you appear to be the most MAGA patriot in the history of MAGA patriots. And you're criticizing Royce White as an anti-Semite? Oh, you're a scam. Somebody's paying you to do this. And see, this is the danger of this thing. When you actually get out on the playing field, there's people out there that are full of it, and some of them are dangerous. So this is a woman who's spreading propaganda because somebody is paying her, or even worse, she could be a zealot, and she feels she has to bring Royce White down. You couldn't be so MAGA on your page and dislike Royce so much. That is an oxymoron. So you're a scam, and I don't want to deal with scams. If you want to put a name to yourself and show up somewhere with a face, I'd love to have you on video and we can discuss everything. Because there's nothing you brought forward that I don't know about and wouldn't be willing to comment on. But this is what we have to deal with. We have to deal with the use of the Jewish identity as part of this big system of the New World Order. It's part, the use of the woman's identity, the use of the black identity, the use of the Christian identity. These people are users. And who are these people? Who could be this smart? Well, I'd like to say PhDs, but having grown up with them, I know they're not that smart. I worry about this from a supernatural perspective. The use of all these groups, the weaponization of Islamophobia, of anti-Semitism, of misogyny, of racism, and then the reactions to these hatreds. We must become, to make this country work, adherents to the philosophy of republicanism. We must respect minority rights. We must believe in political outcomes that provide for the common good. And the only way that's going to happen is if we get involved. We have to go to caucus if you're in Minnesota. Let's play number 5. This is the additional comment on this use of the Jewish identity. This is from Ehud Olmert, who was the former prime minister of Israel. His career ended quite ignominiously. He was actually imprisoned for scandal, for embezzling money. Anyhow, let's listen to him because what he has to say still matters.
Let it be clear. Netanyahu is a national historical disaster for Israel. He has to go. Ben Gvir is a terrible event. Smotrich is a terrible event. The Hilltop Youth in the territories, in the West Bank, is a terrible event. What I think about Ben Gvir and his friends, I've spelled out in Israel, not in Turkey. In Israel, in front of them, in the most extreme manner. I call them enemies. I say that they are butchers, that they are killers, they are murderers, they are terrorists. I said it on my own people, on my own minister since 2009. the Israeli policy was absolutely negative, was not really prepared to embark on a meaningful process that was essential. They have not followed the policy that I've outlined, which carried a real chance for peace. And I don't release the Israeli government from 2009 of its responsibility for the lack of communication. I think that he is a danger to Israel, that he should be immediately fired, that he should be thrown out, that his bedtime, because of many reasons which have nothing to do with Palestinians.
Every sovereign citizen in every municipality can affect the outcomes of all these international issues. We are the power. Because we've abdicated the power, other people just picked it up and they're running with it. They're going to go as far as we let them go. They'll rob millions, hundreds of millions, billions, trillions. We got people robbing trillions. And we're going to sit here and just go, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. I hear that all the time. There's nothing I can do about it. Bama said it, till we fix the election integrity issue, doesn't matter what I do. One of my best friends, oh man, the government's so corrupt, I'm just thinking about myself. Well, I can't do that because I'm a Republican. I believe in the common good. I believe in respecting minority rights. I believe I'm a sovereign. I'm not giving up my sovereignty because they've, robbed it. I mean, I need 51% of the people, or whatever that number, maybe it's 10%. We need enough people playing that we can root out the entrenched political professionals in these parties and refresh the parties with people that have sacred honor. It's just that simple. If we don't do it, we lose the republic. Trump is already 1 year done. He's got 3 years left. Got midterms coming up in 26. Just because all this fraud's coming up, that doesn't mean that the Republicans are going to win. And if the Republicans win and we endorse machine politicians, nothing really changes. It's just changing the curtains. Do you care if it's blue curtains or yellow curtains? It's the same whorehouse. Yellow curtains, blue curtains, orange curtains. As long as the people controlling the color of the curtains stay in power, we stay in a whorehouse. And that's where it's at. Well, Trump is doing some phenomenal things. There's so much news. I want to end with this one. The Trump administration plans to ramp up efforts to strip naturalized Americans of their citizenship, according to internal guidance obtained by the New York Times, making an aggressive new phase in Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. The guidance issued this past Tuesday asks the Office of Immigration Litigation to supply this is a beta test, of up to 200 naturalization cases per month, denaturalization cases. These are people who lied to get into this country. They lied on a form. They lied about their status. They married somebody they were related to. They lied. They undermined the value of my citizenship. They've got to go because I want my citizenship to have meaning. I don't want spies in my country. I don't want people that want to undermine my country and my country. I don't want criminals and saboteurs. I don't want industrial espionage. I don't want spying. I don't want people that are just here to rob the country. If you don't love this country and you came, now, of course, if you're a citizen, you can be a shitbag and there's not much we can do about it. But if you came into this country through illegitimate means, you got to go. We have to restore the value of my citizenship and of your citizenship so there's something that's worth fighting for. What if half of our taxes go to fraud? What if your tax bill could be reduced by 50% and the government's fully funded? And longevity is extended and morbidity is compressed. What if, not what if, it's right in our hands to make that happen. Right in our hands. It's in our hands. What we do with it, that's up to us. Do you come January 1st, the night of New Year's, to Minnesota Speaks at 7 p.m. and participate in a 3-hour meeting where you can speak and be heard and people will respect you because you can speak? There was 12,000 people at the last meeting. They didn't all speak, but anybody who wanted to speak got a chance to take the mic. Will you come to our in-person meeting on January 7th at the Wayzata Central Middle School? Please do. If we don't organize and we don't get very serious about what we're doing right now, we're going to lose our freedom. It's just that simple. Real ID, passed by Republicans. Passed by Republicans that were there, put in office to conserve my individual sovereign rights. And they sold me out. They sold me out. And they put in place the process that the digital ID will be put right on top of. We don't have any time. You got to show up. Make a decision. It's time for New Year's resolutions. I do resolve to be a sovereign citizen in 2026. I do so resolve. And then get off the couch and join me. And I'll be so happy to meet you. I want to wish you a happy new year. I want to wish you a healthy new year. I want to wish you a new year of meaning and engagement. I want to wish you a new year of a baggage drop with whatever your sins were. You can drop them because you have a new mission in life, and that's saving this republic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tanner, for coming in.
Of course.
We'll see you on the other side.
Have a good night, everybody, and Happy New Year's.